What's going on, people? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. So what I want to take a look into is pretty much how I dissect the markets from a top-down analysis point of view. So we're going to be taking a look into GBPUSD, and pretty much how we start is we're going to start on the monthly, right? So let me just delete all of this off of here and we're going to start again, okay? So starting from the beginning of price, we're looking at this area here, okay? So the way that I look at price is we have ranges, okay? And the part where, you know, retail kind of look at break and retests in the market, they look at that kind of concept of, you know, literally every single time you have a break of a level, you're going to look for a retest, right? Ultimately, I want to just give you the real reasoning to why this actually happens, okay? So we're going to be looking at the market in ranges, okay? So what we do is, this is the easiest way to actually learn this is to start from the monthly chart, right? So we're going to start from this low. This is the beginning of the low. This is the first place that we can see price, right? So then we need to drag price up to the high, okay? So wherever the high is, obviously we're on the monthly chart, so we understand that price has made this high. You know, we can clearly see this, okay? Then what we need to do is drag that out, okay? Now, as you can see, obviously we've pushed to the upside and then we've had a very heavy drop to the downside, okay? So what actually we need to look at is when price breaks out of this range, what we need to look at is where is price going to come back into this range, okay? So as we can see here, price has made some trend line liquidity. Let's just pull this all the way over here and we'll mark that off as liquidity, okay? So trendline liquidity all the way along here. We also have trendline liquidity running from under here also, right? So what we can understand from this already is we are creating liquidity on the top side, and then we're also creating liquidity on the bottom side, right? But the thing with this is, right, this is the reason people get stopped out on equal highs and this sorts of stuff, right? People see this and think, okay, there's a trend line here, we're going to get this breakout. Potentially they even had their trend line like this, okay? And then what they see is you've got this break and then you get the retest and then the continuation to the downside, right? Obviously that doesn't happen. What is happening is actually the liquidity to the upside is actually being targeted, right? So there's our trend line, we have the break, we have the retest. No, doesn't work, obviously gets stopped out and then continues down to the major of the downside, right? Okay, but let's go back to this previous range here, okay? So as we see, we pushed to the upside and then we pushed to the downside. Now, what we've done is we've created this, same again, retail pattern. I guess this is called a triangle, a squeezing triangle, something like that. I do apologize because my retail knowledge is out of the window. You know, I've pretty much got rid of it all, okay? But what we're actually waiting for is we can tell that this is trendline liquidity. You know, we can look at this as a target, right? Because actually what we expect is every time price breaks out of a previous range, which is this range right here, okay, we actually need a retest of that area to make the market efficient again, okay? And how precise this gets, let me just draw a line and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker for you. Let's just go like that. Cool. So you can see this nice and easily, okay? So we're going to go from this low, okay, and we're going to extend it to the out, right? So as you can see perfectly, if you look in the top left corner, look at the low of this candle. So it's 171.813, okay? Now if we look at the high of this candle, we have 171.917. So we have 0.4 pipettes, which has reached into this range and then it's dropped off, okay? So look, think how minuscule that is, right? And we're on a monthly chart. This is how precise the market actually can get, okay? Even on the monthly chart, we can see very high precision in this kind of ideology, right? So we run up all of this trendline liquidity here, okay? We tap into the previous range. Now, if you guys are familiar, we can even see this as a breaker concept, okay? So we have a higher high, lower low, and then we tap back into it right here, okay? So we can draw that off, and then we can see right here, I don't even think we actually touch it right here, okay? We actually do just miss it, okay? But actually, the reason that this breaker concept works is because what we're looking at is the previous range, right? We're looking at this range here, and then we're looking for a break below, and then liquidity to be formed. You know, it doesn't always have to be liquidity formed, but it gives you an idea in where price needs to come back to before price continues in whichever way price wants to continue, right? So we tap back into this range, you know, literally 4 pipettes back into this range, and then look at the reaction back to the downside. The reason for this push to the downside that's so solid is because price up here is now efficient. Price has made it back to the previous range, and then we can look for shorts, right? So this is where the retail concept of break and retest, let's just say we go like that, this break and retest actually works here because what we've done is we've broken out of a previous range, and now we have consolidated through this area here, creating liquidity on both sides of the market. We've actually then stopped out some people who are looking for, you know, potential longs from this area. And then we're also taking out people that are looking short from this retest of the trend line, okay? And that's for anyone obviously who's trading on the monthly time frame. Okay, so that's that then kind of dissected. We can understand that's why break and retest works. We understand that a previous range needs to be retested for price to be efficient, and then for the market to continue in whichever direction it wants, okay? So now we can draw this out, right? And we can say, okay, this low is very weak, because what we've actually had here is we've had a high made and then another high made, and then we've swept that high and then started breaking structure to the downside, okay? So this low is definitely a weak low. We can then use this to target, okay? Remember, the market is very fractal, okay? So everything that you can see on this monthly time frame, do not take it as it's just the monthly time frame. This is how you get started. This is how you begin your analysis, okay? This is how you understand where the market wants to go, okay? So from this point here, what we can actually do is, let me just delete these, okay? How do you find the next range that we are in, okay? So this is the area in which price broke out from, okay? This is the initiation for where price broke out of the previous range, right? So this is the high that we're going to start from, and then this is the low that we're going to end at, okay? So this is our next range, right? And then what we do, same again, we extend this out, okay? And then we wait for the break, same again, okay? So what we have here is a consolidation through, let's just see, January 16 to 9, okay? So we've got 7 years of consolidation, okay? And this is why you need to know how to trade ranges and also to trade continuations, right? Trending markets, because the price can be consolidated in this area, right? And obviously, yes, we are looking on the monthly time frame. You can class this as a trend, but the reason that price is actually doing this is to make price efficient in the previous range, okay? So price reaches up into the previous range, it trends for a little while, and then it trends down, okay? But on the overall view of the market, price is actually consolidated in between this high and this low, okay? So when we get the next breakout, which is right here, okay, what do we expect when we get this next breakout? Well, we actually need a retest of the previous range, okay? So what do we have? This is the retest right here, okay? Now, what we can do is we could probably look in a lower time frame in this area here for why price reacted from this area here. But this is how you can understand where to pick your POIs, right? If you're looking for a POI and it's right here, and you understand that price actually needs to retest this previous range to continue in whichever direction it wants to go, this then ultimately just eliminates this area here. I do apologize for the mouse. This eliminates this area here to look for continuations to the downside, doesn't it? Because we haven't had any retest of this previous range. Yes, price could react from this area and push a little bit further down, but ultimately what we're looking for is the retest inside of the previous range. Now, the reason that price didn't retest any sort of POI here is because it was just consolidating through this area here, right? We are taking out liquidity from either sides of the market, and we are tapping perfectly into the previous range to then continue, okay? So then we can look on a lower time frame in this area here, because this is the place that broke structure out of the previous range. We can look for definitely at least a reaction from this area here, okay? So before we get off the monthly time frame and down to the weekly, same again. This is the high that broke out of this range, okay? Now this is the low, okay? There we go. So as you can see, currently on GBPUSD, we have had 3 ranges, okay? So this large range here, this large range here, and then this large range here, which we are currently still in. This is how you can identify whether price is sweeping liquidity also, right? You can see that price wicks to the downside and then pushes straight back to the upside, okay? And that is obviously no body closes are outside of this previous range. So we can see that as a liquidity sweep, okay? Now, price is still ranging inside of this range right here, okay? So now what we need to do is we need to identify potentially where price could react from inside of this range, okay? So now what we have here is this is a down close candle before this push to the upside. We don't actually sweep any liquidity here, so potentially price could be continuing to the downside for a little while. We potentially could look to take out this low here, or we could look to take out the high, right? You know, we have to just wait. This is a monthly chart, so you know nothing happens quick on a monthly chart. It takes a month to happen, right? So for now, with the data that we have, we can mark off this down close candle, okay? And we can mark that off as an order block or a supply and demand level, or however you want to, you know, say it. And then we can wait for specific zones inside of this area here. If you don't know how to refine an order block, go and watch my previous video. It's very specific on how I look to refine the market, how I look to refine my order blocks, and obviously then how to get an entry, okay? So from this point here, we have a little bit of information. We have an up close candle here. Let's just make that a bit more specific. Cool, right? So extend that to the out here. And then what we'll do is we'll jump down onto the weekly, because ultimately everything that we need to know right now has been described in these 3 ranges, okay? So dropping down to the weekly, and we'll look at current price action here, okay? So we can see instantly we can get a refinement on this order block here, okay? Now on the weekly chart, we can refine it down to this up close candle right here, okay? So let's mark that off as an order block. Okay, perfect. And as we can see, price has tapped perfectly into the 50% of this order block. Let's just have a look and see if we can get onto the daily for this one. Okay, no, that's absolutely fine. We'll stay on the weekly, okay? So from this area here, we can understand that we're coming into a monthly order block, right? Now what we can do is we can look to refine this. So we have these last down close candles here before this push to the upside. Now right here is the place that my eye kind of gets drawn to, right? This order block right here, okay? This down close candle before this push to the upside, which breaks structure, and it also has liquidity left below it, okay? So this is an area of high probability for me, because 1, we've had a monthly order block here, and then 2, we've now refined it down to a weekly order block. Okay, and then in this scenario, what we can do is we can look at either the open or the 50% of this order block to continue price potentially to the upside, okay? So looking at efficiency in the market, we're looking at upside and then downside, right? Has price been met in previous ranges? We're doing exactly the same as what we just did on the higher time frame using these large ranges as we are on the lower time frames, okay? So let's just use current price for now, and we can, let's just say, mark off this low here, okay? So I'm just going to randomly pick this low, and then I'm going to use this high here because this is the high, and then we get the pullback, and then we get the breakout, okay? So this is our new range. We will mark that off as a range, okay? So here we have the breakout, and then we have the retest inside of the range. What can we do? We can look inside of this area here. This is a weekly order block right here. okay? And then we have an area in which we can take a trade from once again. Then what you can do, if you would like to get down onto a lower time frame, you know that you have a high probability area in which price could return to, and then also a high probability area where price could continue, okay? So you can look at this high as a target. As you can see, price doesn't quite reach that area from this level here, but ultimately it does push further to the upside and then take out this target here, okay? So same again, what we're doing, this is the last place in which price broke out of this range, okay? So marking this low off here and this high here, okay? We wait for this, okay? So now what we have is a breakout of this range. We do have a little bit of a retest here, but then ultimately we continued to the upside, okay? Let's just pull this out again and make this a range. Cool. So here, same again, I'm picking the low to the high, then we have the pullback, then we have the breakout, and now what we're doing is looking for a further pullback. Okay, so on the monthly time frame, remember what we did is we had this as a monthly order block, and what we've done is we've refined it down to this down close candle before this push to the upside, which ultimately breaks this structure. Okay, we do have this one here, but what we are now in is, well, we're currently inside of this order block here, okay? And this is why we're seeing a little bit of resistance from this area here, okay? So we are in this weekly order block right now. So we can look for potentially some sort of reaction longs, but I wouldn't be looking to take out, you know, major highs. You have to understand where the structural highs are, where the protected highs are, and where the weak lows are, and obviously vice versa, the weak highs and then the protected lows, okay? So yes, we're inside this weekly order block right now, but potentially what I think is we could come down a bit further into this order block here to mitigate the rest of price inside of this range, okay? Because if we look at this, right, we have this down close candle and then we have a push to the upside, but then we have another down close candle which meets this previous range, okay? If you think about it in these large ranges, if you think about it in a small range, okay, like this, what do we have? A break and a retest and then a continuation. But from this down close candle, we've not had a break and a retest. So this is the area in which we need to come back to, right? This makes most sense. If we understand every single time we have a small range, we need a break and a retest, then this is the most logical place that we can look for an order block, okay? Let's drop down to the daily time frame, and I believe this is as far as I would like to go right now. What I'm looking at here is, let's have a look in this area. Okay, so now what we're creating is some trend line liquidity from here. Okay, we're making some very tasty looking highs that we can look to run out eventually. Okay, so price is slowly stalling here, but let's just look at this range right now. Okay, so here we have this high and this low. Okay, let's just pull it out a little bit further. Right here, so this is just a random high. I could have picked this one, but then I would have had to pick this low, right? If you look at it every single time, let's do that one as well, right? That high to that low. Okay, so here we have the breakout, here we have the retest, and then we continue, okay? This is the high that broke out of this previous range, okay? This is the low, this is the pullback, this is the continuation into this previous range, right? Now what we've had is a breakout of this previous range, then a retest back into a POI, and then continuing back to the downside. What you want to do is be following the higher time frame direction, right? Yes, on the monthly time frame, potentially we are looking for a bullish continuation, but actually, where does price need to get to on the monthly time frame or the weekly time frame to actually continue that? Well, actually, this is the most logical place that I can see that price wants to get to. So on the higher time frames, are we bearish or are we bullish? Because for me, I would say we're bearish right now because we haven't met the area in which we're looking to trade from, right? To change direction, okay? So on the daily time frame, let's have a look. Right now, what is our order flow? Okay, so we're looking at this low and this high. Okay, this low gets broken, then we put in a new high. Okay, right here. So then we've got a new high, and then we've got a new low, right? And then this low has been broken. So now what we need to do is wait for another high, like potentially this could be the new high, and then this is the new low. And then obviously if we break that, then we can continue. And then same again, what we can do is look at this in a smaller range. Okay, so this is the high. Oops. This is the high that broke out of this range. This is the low. Okay. Oops. We still haven't got a breakout of this range yet. Okay. Let's pull this over. And now it's getting a little bit crazy because we have plenty of different ranges on here. Okay. So let's look at the market like this. We haven't broken out of this range yet, but what do we expect when price pushes out of this range? A return in? Most likely, right? If price doesn't do this, then we're looking at an overextension of the market. And if price pushes down a little bit further into this weekly order block here and then continues up, then we can look for one of these POIs inside of these areas here. Okay, whereas the last place is inefficient, same again, right? Remember what I said, every time you have a small range, you have to have a retest. Break, retest. Okay, there's your retest. So is it going to be this POI here? Is it going to be this up close candle before this push to the downside? Did it break any structure? No. Okay, these are the POIs which you want to be looking at, which are, you know, way more high probable than all of these random ones, which, you know, you see price come all the way down here and then you think, oh, I'm going to mark off this POI, and then it comes back up and it just smashes straight through, and you think, you know, why am I actually, you know, why am I trading at this point? You know, you're just getting absolutely wiped out by the market. You need to understand the efficiency of the market, and, you know, where price needs to retest, where price needs to be, you know, think about the word efficiency. It needs to be efficient. It needs to be provided on the buy side and on the sell side, and then on the sell side and the buy side, right? Look at it in small ranges. Ranges are one of the most incredible things that has been right in front of your face this whole time, right? Even in a retail perspective, you have been taught ranges. You have been taught to look at previous ranges and what is a range in market, what is a trending market. These are the things that you really need to dig deep into to actually understand where you are in the market and what actually needs to happen, okay? So I hope you took some information from this video. I do apologize, it's a little bit long, and I do kind of blabber on a little bit, but this is the kind of stuff that you need to know, right? This is the information that isn't available online, and I want to make this available to you guys because I never had this. So, you know, I hope you took something from this, and I will catch you guys in the next video.